It's a cinema classic. It is an Oscar winner. It just needed more lasers. I'm joking. But yeah, so I'm stepping way out of my wheelhouse on this one, like way out of my wheelhouse. This was a commissioned review through Patreon, because yes, you can do that if there's something you want me to review that you think I might not watch otherwise, or I've been saying I want to watch for years but don't have time for. If you want to force me, always an option. So this was to me an odd choice to request of me, and that is Cinema Paradiso, which is a 1988 film. It did win the Oscar that year for Best Foreign Language Films. It won a ton of awards. It's an Italian film, and like I said, it's just way out of my wheelhouse. It's the kind of movie that pretty much most of the time I see movies like this, I come away going, yes, that was good, and then have no desire to ever see it ever again, which is not a mark of its quality. It's just a mark of my tastes. So, in case you don't know what this film is, it is an Italian film, so it is subtitled. I did watch the subtitle version. I didn't do a dub or anything. Though that said, the movie is dubbed anyways. You get this a lot in Italian films. I noticed this when I watched, I don't think it was Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It might have been A Fistful of Dollars. One of the movies from those, I could tell that all the characters, they were speaking the language that I was hearing, but it was clearly dubbed over. The words didn't quite match the lips. And the same thing's going on here, despite the fact that I don't even know the language. So I guess that's just the thing they do in Italy, is redub everything? I don't know. So that's a divergence. That has nothing to do with anything going on, because it wasn't even really that distracting, because like I said, I don't know the language anyways. But it's just funny to me that I watched the subtitle movie and yet it still was clearly dubbed, or at least some of the characters were. I had to be reading the lines. I couldn't zero in on everybody's lips all the time, but definitely some of those characters were. But anyways, it is a coming of age story tracking the life at three different points of a filmmaker who grew up he was a young boy just as World War II ended, and in his small Sicilian town there was a local movie theater, the Cinema Paradiso, which was run sort of by the local priest, or at the very least he kind of took jurisdiction on it. And I'll come back to that, because that's the kind of things that are really nice about this movie. And it primarily focuses on the relationship between the lead character, who is generally referred to as Toto, that's his nickname, and the projectionist, who is an older man and has been doing this for a long time. And initially this young boy at around 10, a little younger, probably. Just fascinated by all this, and this older guy who's by turns annoyed by and also very endeared to this young boy. And then we jump to him as a teenager, as he has taken over running the projection booth, and he's still keeping up with the old projectionist, and he falls in love for the first time, and he starts exploring film, as a filmmaker himself. And then him as an adult, as actually a rather successful filmmaker, coming back to his hometown that he has not been to in 30 years for the funeral of his friend, the original projectionist. So it is that kind of coming of age, full circle. You can't go home again. Well, you can, but it's not quite the same, except some things are exactly the same, but maybe not the things you want sort of story. And what I tend to like about these stories when they're done well are all the little touches, the little things, the little moments, the little strange beats, the quirks of the time and place where it's set. And I want to be really specific. They have to feel like valid quirks, because I actually have a very deep hatred for what I can only describe as unjustified quirkiness. Like, my go-to example of that, which is a film most people haven't seen and do not see this movie, but it was a movie called Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which is so aggressively quirky in a way that defies all logic, whether it be real world or narrative or character logic. All of it is sacrificed on the altar of quirk. Ugh. But if you can have the kind of quirks that feel like the sorts of things that happen in the setting that you've placed your story, they can be really wonderful. Like some of the things that go on here. So I mentioned the priest before. Before anyone in the town gets to see the movies, because pretty much the whole town comes, because it's the only real source of mass entertainment, especially at the earlier points in the story, he pre-screens all the movies. He's got this bell in his hand, and every time something shows up on the screen that he doesn't think anyone in the town should see, he rings the bell, which basically means every kissing scene from every classic black and white movie ever is removed because of this priest. And so there's things like that, or there's this couple that you keep seeing across the years, and the first time they catch each other's eye is during a horror movie where there's a point where everyone else in the theater covers their eyes and goes like, and these two don't, and they catch each other's eyes, and it's like, oh, hello. And it's little things like that, those kinds of small, simplified, small town, rural living quirks like that are really wonderful and very endearing. And they help get me through this a lot of the time, because with segments like when the boy's at his youngest, when the main character is at his youngest, that can be a little rough for me. Not because it's badly done. It's not even because the child actor's bad. He's fine. He's about as good as a child actor that age is going to be. I'm sure he probably even comes off as better because I don't speak the language, so I can't tell if his line reading sucks. But that whole... I know I'm going to watch a young kid be very stupid. And I don't enjoy that for kind of the same reason I don't enjoy cringe humor. I hate seeing the mistake coming when in that sort of scenario, like a kid who kind of maybe should know better but doesn't fully appreciate the consequences of what they might be doing goes and does something stupid. And I know that's part of growing up, and it's all very realistic. I'm not even knocking it for being in the film, but it's the kind of thing I don't enjoy watching. So, for me, actually, the film got better as it went along. So, with him as a young boy, it was fine. It was fine, but, like, the small quirks of the town did a lot to keep me going. And, like, there's a guy who is... He claims to own the square, like the public square in the middle of the town. He claims that he owns it. And at midnight, he shuts it down and shoos everyone out of the square because it's his and he's closing it. It's a lot of little things like that get me through the first third or so. And when the boy is more of a teenager, the first love thing, it's about what you'd expect from that, but I'm watching the building blocks of really start to form, because when he's very young, you get a much better sense of the projectionist, and you get a way better sense of him, in that early segment, and that's a wonderful performance. This is a great older actor in this part. And then when you get to when Toto is a teenager, you're seeing how the groundwork from when he was a kid is being laid to him now, and you're going to get to see what he's like as an adult. And it's the segments where he's an adult, which is comparatively the shortest, It's also a framing device because we kind of see him as an adult at the beginning, so really most of the movie's a flashback. But it's him as an adult having a full appreciation of where he's come from and what he left behind and what's still there and what is gone. That was the part that I really related to the best, which is kind of nice because I feel a lot of times coming of age stories, like they tend to either peak early or run out of steam. So for my take on this, I rather enjoyed the fact that I was connecting with this lead character more with each segment of it. If I was to rate any of it on like raw entertainment, the first bit when he's a young kid is probably the most entertaining because it's got the most other quirky stuff going on. I think largely so the young actor didn't have to carry too much of the film because that would have been asking too much of any kid that young. So like raw entertainment, that first segment, but as far as really earning its payoff and building to something, that last bit I think worked really well, and I enjoyed the progression and the building of this character so that I could understand, because like I said, there's a framing device, and what you're first presented with are a few scant facts about him. It's like, and then as you watch and you go through and you see everything that is underlying those few scant facts you knew at the beginning, you go, oh, okay, yeah. So Cinema Paradiso, odd choice for me, of all people, but I'm glad I saw it. I will probably never watch it again. But again, not because it's a bad movie. It's a good movie. It is quite a good movie. It's just not my thing. But even recognizing that this is not the kind of movie that I would watch again for pleasure, I'm still glad I saw it. I did enjoy seeing it. I would recommend it, especially if these sorts of coming of age or period pieces, and that the more sort of European, sort of more laid back pacing that you get with some European films is more your speed. Definitely check it out. Cinema Paradiso, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Usual stuff, you know what it is. All the likes and the subscribes and the this and the that, and there's links, and don't sweat it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so just come on back. Next time, you need a break.